Welcome to the Schmucks of the Galaxy podcast. I'm your mummy expert, Toby. Sure, why not?
I'm the dog, Snoop Doggy Dog.
Ew.
Wait,
Okay,
which dog
Starring
are
Javier Bardem.
The
sorry,
dog-
I mean Rock the Schrock.
Ew.
Sorry.
Schmucks.
I just literally mixed up
Stop.
like 2 decades worth of Wolfman
That's
movies.
disgusting.
Who are you?
I was trying to remember. I watched episode 4 of Rick and Morty last night, and there's a superhero that is. I'm pretty sure he's voiced by Tom Kenny, and all he is he's just made out of a million ants.
Ew.
And I can't remember his name. I was gonna say that, but
Ant-Man?
sure.
That's awful.
I'm Ant-Man.
You should be
My
Paul.
name's Ben.
You should be Paul Rudds, where you're literally just a bunch of Paul Rudds.
There's a kid that I work with that looks exactly like Paul Rudd. So
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Imagine an Ant-Man where Paul Rudd is the ant. It's a giant ant, and then you have a
disgusting.
million little Paul Rudds.
that's basically what the superhero was.
So what would you fight? On Paul Rudd-sized ant or
No,
10 ant-sized Paul Rudds?
10 ants as Paul Rudd.
Definitely.
Easy.
Yeah, but then the villain instead of Yellow Jacket, what if it was Judd Apatow? And
That's
the fact that he
disgusting.
always manages to cast Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd wants to break free and go into different kinds of movies.
I want to write a movie that's a spiritual successor to Freddy vs. Jason, but it's Judd Apatow versus Paul
Rudd.
Feig.
Oh no!
Directed by both of them.
Directed by Uwe Boll.
Written by Mothra.
What? There is a theme there, and you're like, I'm gonna put in a Godzilla monster in there.
Because I was listening to the Atom Ship song called Mothra, and it literally, the intro's a minute long, and it, like, the end of the intro is him going, Mothra versus the world. And then he goes, let's play. And then the music starts, and it's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
That should be Scott Pilgrim too.
It is Scotland.
It's part of the Scott Pilgrim Godzilla cinematic universe.
Honestly, that sounds like a lot of fun if they made it work. It wouldn't work.
That's
but
why they don't put you in
it'd
charge
be
of
fun.
things.
No, let me address this. If they did a Godzilla reference in Scott Pilgrim where they go like where one of the evil X's had like a little dinosaur or something, that could be kind of fun. That like resembled Godzilla. That
That's
could be
too
kinda
complicated. One of the evil X's is Mothra.
fun. Okay, we'll
I
go
was
with
watching,
that.
speaking of Godzilla, I was watching John Oliver's North Korea special,
Right.
and there's this like little segment, there's a little part in it where I guess North Korea tried to make their own Godzilla, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Basically, like
Who tried to make their own Godzilla?
North Korea.
Oh
So
no!
it's basically like these two Korean guys are about to decapitate a woman, and he goes, her! And then he like the sword goes down, and he goes, "Huh?" And then like he pulls the sword back, and there's a giant bite mark out of it, and there's a little lizard, and he goes, "Ah!" And it's supposed to be their version of Godzilla.
Did you
What's
see
it called?
It starts with a P. I don't remember, but
Podzilla?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something different. But like the story behind that is whatever the
Kim
last
Jong-un?
no the last
Kim Jong-il?
I think it was Kim Il whatever.
Kim Jong-il.
Wasn't it Kim Il Sum? Kim Dim Sum?
Kim Possible. Okay. what,
That's also a Robot Chicken skit with Kim Jong Un and Kim Possible fighting over their name. But anyways, the story behind that is they kidnapped 2 South Korean actors to just make movies for them for years, and that was one of the movies.
Wow.
You know they
Yeah.
also tried to do their own version of Disney.
That's gross.
Yeah, it was literally okay. That's terrifying. They took maybe this is wrong, being as I read this online.
No, it's
Anything
wrong
online.
either way. Even if you're right, it's so
You're right,
wrong.
you're
Very
right.
wrong.
But I'm just saying, like, factually speaking, is I'm not the most credible source. I could be wrong, but I remember reading something where North Korea made their own parade of their version of Disney characters, and they took a lot of like the
They're all
forced
Shrek.
labor workers and had them wear the costumes.
Oh,
Jesus
man.
Christ.
So you had a parade of these like forced workers, and the thing is that these weren't even like variations on the Disney characters. They literally copied them exactly. However, for whatever reason, each mask looks terribly made.
What was it? Like paper mache or like
No.
cardboard?
It was definitely like plastic, kind of like not a plastic. I'm not sure what the. It looked like the same substance that like a person wearing like a costume at Disneyland would wear. However,
Okay.
it just looked dysfunctional. Where like one of the eyes looked scratched in a weird way, so the eye hole was too big,
Ew.
or like it looked covered in. It
I
looked like
found
it was
the-
covered
I
in
found the
dirt.
name. So it's called Pulgasari instead of Godzilla.
Sounds like something I'd order at a sushi
Yeah.
restaurant. One Pulgasari, please.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
don't
like
know
an
if you want
alcoholic beverage.
Hold the miso soup.
Yeah.
rough.
Literally, just hold it while I eat it.
Doesn't it kind of sound Indian though?
You sound
Like if you get Indian
A little
food?
bit, yeah.
Yeah.
one Bulgasari.
Here, this is what it looks like.
Bulgasari.
It looks like an old, like, if Godzilla became, like, a shogun.
This actually does kind of look like one of Godzilla's villains. Hold on. So you guys talk while I
You
find
know
a
what I just
picture.
realized? When we said Pulgasari, we all said them with an Italian accent. We're like, it could...
Bulgasari.
Yeah, we're like, it could be Indian food. Pulgasari. And it's like, wait, why?
But yeah, actually, that was a really good
We should
segue.
feature
I
a
should
picture
watch
of Pulgasari in the...
it. Just in
the
throughout
podcast.
every episode.
Yeah.
Okay, he kind of looks like King Caesar, but like a less hairy version of
Okay,
King
one,
Caesar.
why does that exist? And
It's
two,
a Godzilla
he
villain.
actually kind of does.
This is King Caesar.
That's kind of weird, but I'm not going to lie. It's kind of cool
But
looking.
Pulgasari is like maybe 2 feet tall.
That's
Can you
so
please-
pathetic.
At least in
Guys.
the clip that I saw.
Okay.
Guys, we have to feature a picture of that in the podcast so the viewers know what we're talking about here.
They can look it up themselves, can't you, boys and girls?
No,
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay.
because they're all using Bing.
Our entire audience like doesn't have fingers.
I want
Whoops.
if we're gonna attract a demographic, it has to be that one. The only way you can find us is if you only have stumps and you smash it on your keyboard. This is what's gonna come up.
This is just going nowhere. Okay, let's talk.
Just a disclaimer. I have a lot of respect for people with no fingers.
I also want to make a disclaimer. I have a lot of fingers and have respect for people
Hey!
with fingers.
I don't respect you for your fingers.
Hey, don't judge me by my looks.
Ew.
Uh,
Judge me by my functionality.
Don't call me Mr. Fingers, call me Mr. Fondles.
All right, Mr. Fondles. That's definitely an
What
ice
is
cream
wrong
man
with
somewhere.
us?
I
That
don't
sounds
know.
like a Mr. Pickles character.
Mr. Fondles.
Mr. Pickles
He's a
is the
good
scariest
boy.
shit I've ever seen in my life. Genuinely, it's terrifying.
Please tell me you've seen that show.
No, I haven't.
It's about a dog possessed by Satan and a boy that has... What disease does he have? He has some disease where he has to use, like, you know, those arm crutches.
Oh, cerebral palsy?
I guess,
Yeah, that is-
but
yeah.
he doesn't do anything that would indicate that he has cerebral palsy except for the crutches. And, like, everyone thinks he's, like, a good dog except for the grandpa, who always catches him, like, summoning demons and, like, having giant rape orgies in his doghouse. And it's
Oh.
the most terrifying, most disturbing show I've ever seen, and it's animated.
Yeah, when people say things are metal,
Well, I
this is like
imagine-
that on steroids.
Yeah.
I imagined it was animated
Yeah.
because if this was live action, I wanted to know how they, like, didn't violate
people?
any, like, laws.
Yeah, no, it's the theme song is literally like super heavy, like death metal. It's like Mr. Pickles, and he's like killing people, and it's like he's a good boy, and he's just literally
We'll show
just
it to you.
killing. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Is it worse than the Dark Universe?
Actually, no.
Here's the thing. Mr. Pickles is actually better in the way where it's a million times more frightening.
They put effort.
Not only that, but the thing is it's actually fucking scary as shit. So the thing is, the Dark Universe won't be remotely scary. So on that level, Universal's already failing at their goal at making a horror universe because Mr.
Yeah.
Pickles is scarier. But Mr. Pickles is far less watchable in a lot of respects.
This is the first time I can actually say, and it makes sense here, we're comparing apples to pickles.
Yes.
We really
Yeah.
are.
What kind of pickles?
Pickle
Mr.
Rick.
Pickle. Oh,
Pickle
thanks
Rick.
for stepping on my groove.
Sorry.
What is up with Adult Swim and Pickles, dude? Mr. Pickles,
don't
Pickle
know.
Rick?
Whoever's, like, running that show, not specifically Rick and Morty, I mean the entire Adult Swim network probably has a pickle fetish.
That's their one.
Like, they need to meet a 1 pickle quota per
Hey,
season.
you guys ever see Adult Swim making a Sausage Party TV show, but with a lesser cast that just imitates
Yes.
Seth Rogen and
Well,
all
isn't
those
that
other
kind
people?
of? I was gonna say that's kind of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but
It is, because that was a spinoff of, what was it called? Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. Do you know Space Ghost?
Yes, I do.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force is a spin-off of Space Ghost?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
It's part of the Space Ghost cinematic universe.
Honestly, the Space Ghost Coast to Coast show is better than the actual
Huh.
Space Ghost cartoon by miles.
I'm trying to figure out how that's a spin-off.
Dude, the actual Space Ghost cartoon was the Hanna-Barbera company trying to do superheroes.
Right.
And literally, Coast to Coast is the same, like, 6 pieces of footage that they just recycle over and over. And it somehow manages to be one of the most surreal yet entertaining shows. You know what inspired Eric Andre?
I thought Tim and Eric inspired on
That, but Space Ghost Coast to Coast, the format, like the talk show format in that show, Eric Andre
Right,
cited.
I see.
Where, like, weird stuff happens, and Space Ghost just has, like, doesn't seem to bother him remotely, while his guest is freaking out. They got that from Space Ghost, yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about the Dark Universe?
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about the Dark
It's
Universe.
time.
It's fine
So
to
wait,
finally talk about the Dark Universe.
Is that supposed to be a horror universe?
So no. So I think it's pretty clear from The Mummy, and you mentioned this earlier, that Universal is failing to make a horror universe. But
was that their goal?
I don't think so. I think they're so inept and clueless as to how to bring their characters
back.
Yeah, because these are horror movies
From
and horror
their-
movie characters.
Yeah.
From, like, 80 years ago.
And,
Yeah.
and even though the Brendan Fraser Mummy is essentially like a fun B-movie action movie, the roots of all these characters are still in horror.
Yeah, but just before we go on, because the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies will be brought up, the first 2 are some of my childhood favorites, and no matter how like objectively bad certain aspects of them may be, in my mind and in my heart, they're A movies, and I love them.
Yeah.
Well, we
So let's move on.
watched the first Mummy movie, and it still holds up. It's still
It really does.
It's still a really fun movie, and minus some of the bad CGI, it's still very engaging.
It does exactly what it's set
That
out
had
to do
better CGI
perfectly.
than Scorpion King.
That,
Oh, for sure.
Anything has better CGI than.
But here's the
Scorpion
thing,
King.
though. Even though it might be a B movie, that's what they were going for. At what they
Yeah.
attempted to do,
Yeah.
they did perfectly. And they didn't fail.
Yeah.
They did it perfectly. There's no complaint to me. You can't complain about the first Brendan Fraser Mummy movie to me, because literally, even in interviews, like, we tried to make a B movie that was fun,
it's a B-
adventurous, and with the Mummy.
It's a B Indiana Jones, and they still respected the original Mummy.
Not only that, but
That's
it's way
true.
scarier than the new Mummy already.
Yeah, well, the new Mummy, I don't even know.
Dude, the CGI on the old Mummy actually looked good when he was,
Yeah,
like, walking
Imhotep
corpse.
looked actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
And
For what,
already...
was that 99?
Yeah, 99. And isn't it already scarier, like, in just with how Imhotep looks than the Dark Universe, the new Mummy?
Yeah,
Well, they made her look hot. Granted, Sophia,
Yeah, they did make her look hot.
Sophia Batula is a very
I thought she
attractive
was,
woman.
but I thought she actually was good.
Yeah, I liked
She's
her.
definitely the best part about the movie, but
Yeah, she gave it her all.
I mean, they gave her nothing.
Yeah.
but
Dude, she gave it her all. Looked awesome as the Mummy.
yeah.
She played it to its fullest. She did a great job. She was just in a bad movie. But
Yeah.
let's say the script was good and they kept her Mummy. It would have been great. You
Yeah.
know? That was so sad. I felt so bad for her. It's like she looks awesome. She kills it. Her performance is awesome. And then she's in such
They
a
kind
shit
of ruined
movie.
it, though, with the scene where she's screaming.
Oh
at the
yeah,
guy.
we need to talk about that. Even
Which
though
movie?
okay,
Which
this
scene?
movie. So the Mummy,
I meant which scenes.
like for 90%, maybe 95% is unironically bad, but
Yeah.
there's like a good
I think
5% that's
I
hysterical.
think that the two of us, I haven't seen a movie with you guys where we've just laughed out loud for most of it, and when
'Cause-
it's not a comedy.
Yeah, we've never seen a movie together in theaters where it's taking itself 100% seriously, and we just die laughing because it's
'Cause it's
so
so shit.
It's so shit. For those of you who haven't seen The Mummy,
Don't actually.
first, I'd recommend getting very belligerent.
Yeah,
If you literally just look at how Sophia Boutella looks as the Mummy, that's all you really need.
I actually liked her
'Cause she looks really cool.
Character design.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the only positive aspect of this movie is how cool she looks in her performance. So just watch a few clips, and that's all you need.
Yeah,
There are parts in The Mummy, though, that even though the movie is more or less absolute crap, there are parts in this movie that are just absolutely hysterical. Where I remember in the beginning, the two things that stand out in my mind in the beginning were when Tom Cruise and Jake...
as a positive or a negative.
No, like, ironically
Okay.
hilarious. Because, like, the most of the movie is unironically...
There's only one good scene.
So, like,
in the
I remember,
movie.
too. So, the first one I remember is in the beginning, where Tom Cruise and Jake Johnson are running away from the terrorists. And Jake
Oh
Johnson...
yeah, they fight. This movie opens with them fighting ISIS.
Basically. And Jake Johnson is like, I told you you shouldn't have done this. And he takes his fists, raises them in the air, and hits the ceiling. Like they're on a rooftop hiding from gunfire. Jake Johnson, in fury, raises his fists into the air and smacks them on the ground. And in the background, in tandem with his fists hitting the ground, you see a barrage of missiles come and
kill ISIS.
yeah, basically kill all the terrorists. So if you saw that without context, you might be inclined to think that he was
Has
controlling
some
missiles
superpowers.
with his fists and just hit the ground, controlling the missiles to like. It was
you
just
know
so
what
bizarre to see.
You know what it reminded me of? The part in Resident Evil 5 where you're in an exploding volcano and Chris
Yeah, I
decides
remember
to
that.
punch a giant boulder into submission. And then after you do that for about 30 seconds,
Oh my
after
god!
he literally gets into a fist fight with a boulder, it just falls into place and he's like, oh man, you'll see that every day. And then he like walks away.
The best part about that is in Resident Evil 5, like when you saw the previous models for Chris Redfield, he was like
Not
he
a
was
giant tank.
yeah, I mean he was really fit and buff and all, but he looked like a normal, really buff, fit person. But when they did Resident Evil 5, they like roided him out where he had veins popping out of his veins.
He looks like what are those? Who's the
Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
Yeah, like
Yeah, he
Marcus. Or
did.
like no, who's the guy that draws every comic book character? Like
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah,
Rob Liefeld.
super buff. He looks
Yeah,
like a Rob Liefeld.
And what made
character.
it so funny is not only were his proportions just fucking Rob Liefeld like, but he also
Everyone else is so small.
Yeah, and not only that, but he's punching boulders now. Like, what the fuck? And for those of you who don't know, Rob Liefeld was a comic book creator in the like mid to late '90s who created Deadpool. Did he create Cable? I think he created Cable as well. And basically, he made the artistic choice of
Everyone's body appendages looks like butts. Like everything
Yeah.
is so big. Biceps are butt sized. Like
Yeah.
the butts are bicep butt sized. Like
That's
everything.
basically he chose to make everything disproportionate, like his anatomy goes, for the sake of making over exaggerating
Like over the
things. Yeah, making it extreme, over the top in the '90s way. So like everyone looks like a roided out bodybuilder times 5. They all have like millions of pouches, and every name he comes up with consists of blood, dead, lock, kill, watch, just really generic names like that. So that's what we're referring to.
Still more creative than the Dark Universe.
But I feel
Yeah.
like
Sadly.
no, I was gonna say I feel like the Mummy tried to go over the top like that, but they
No.
really didn't. They didn't even
They
try.
really didn't.
Can we address
But
something?
wait, the other
Yeah.
part that was really funny, which was what you were trying to say before.
Oh yeah, the second part that made us laugh out loud was when what did they need to get? They needed
So-
to get some MacGuffin in like a bunker.
Yeah, and they're like a bunch of security guards outside the
Yeah.
bunker.
And so Sophia Battelle is like walking down this hallway, and like a soldier sees her, and it cuts to her screaming, and then it cuts to him screaming, and then it cuts back to her screaming, and then back to the soldier who starts shooting, and then back to her and she's screaming, and then back to the soldier, and then it just cuts again. And
So
it was-
let's reenact this in case it's hard for someone to like imagine.
Is this the
it.
scene I missed because I went to the bathroom?
No.
No, you missed the only good scene in the
You
movie.
missed the only good scene where she turns like to like police officers into her first followers. But
which was
let's
actually kind of creepy.
But let's reenact this scene. It's just for
Do you want to be Battelle or the guard?
I'll be the guard. You be
Okay.
Patella. So we're okay. I represent all the guards. There are like 3 guards. One of them, I don't even remember if he says something. There's like,
I don't think
we
he
can't let her
does.
get in. So it's just like,
So, yeah, she slowly walks up and just goes,
"Ah!
I
That
think-
carried on for 15 seconds, and we could not stop laughing.
I think you guys are missing one very important scream, the Tom Cruise.
which what? Oh, they
that
were
wasn't
playing-
even in the movie.
Yeah, they cut it because they were embarrassed.
There was one trailer.
No,
Yeah,
that's what we're
they-
talking. That's
No,
what
no,
we're
but in
talking
that scene in the trailer, there was a version of the trailer where it was literally just him going, "Ah!" And it lasted for like a full-on 3 minutes. And so the whole trailer continued.
Because
Because
they-
they forgot to put
It was
everything
a
else.
rough upload. It was
Oh, really?
Just, yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah,
like,
it was-
wasn't
okay.
genuine.
It was a
It was
mistake.
a wrong upload without the music, the
Oh,
sound effects.
okay.
It was just the ADR. So everything. It was.
So it was just dead silent except for ah.
Oh, well, somebody took that and extended his scream somehow and made it last the whole trailer, which is otherwise silent. So, like, lines
Of
are being
course they
delivered, and you just hear, "Ah!"
That's
And it's really,
amazing.
really funny.
That's
Yeah.
better than what was said in the movie.
I mean, the entertainment value on that is sadly higher.
But yeah,
By the way, they copied American Werewolf in London, believe it or not, for the
yeah,
Mummy.
the whole,
Yeah, you
the
mentioned
whole
this.
The whole
B plot.
Yeah, I was
the whole
mentioning that in the
subplot.
movie. Okay, so have you seen
About
American
Jake
Werewolf in
Johnson.
London?
Yeah, a long time ago. But
Yeah,
the whole
the best
the whole
friend
Jake thing
rotting.
was-
yeah, there you go.
Like, I'm still alive, but I'm still dead, but I can see you in the mirror.
Basically,
and there's
yeah.
no payoff for that because at the end he just goes, "Hey, thanks for bringing me back to life, friend."
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. That's not actually Jake. What it is it's like an evil. It's like the evil communicating with him in a form that like wouldn't scare him away, even though it's like a rotting version of his
Yeah.
friend, which goes against that.
Right.
They
But
just they
point
made
is
no
that's what
effort.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, but yeah, it doesn't really make sense. You see, in American Werewolf in London, it makes sense because it's his hallucinations. You can interpret it as other spirits, but my theory is that they're his hallucinations. So for them to continuously rot over time makes sense. Whereas with the Mummy, it just doesn't make sense. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Did he even do anything to further the plot? Like
Who,
that,
Jake Johnson?
Yeah, all I remember is like Tom Cruise going into he goes into the women's bathroom at one point and is like, "All right, you need to just cut this shit out." And then he's like, "No, you need to see the mommy, Mamma Mia." And then like that's it.
What I like
there's
is
no point.
So stupid.
What I like is when Tom Cruise like stops women from going into the women's restroom while he's
Yeah,
in
he's
there.
like, "Hold on, I need to talk to my dead friend. Yeah, just go take a shit in the bush."
This movie sucks.
Yeah.
It really
What
does.
about the swimming scene when you have the swimming mummies?
That made me laugh out loud too.
It reminded me of an even shittier version. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but have either of you seen Alien Resurrection? I know you haven't, but the
No,
fourth Alien
I
movie?
didn't even bother.
Well, I know you haven't seen Alien 3 either,
I didn't
but
bother to watch that
have you
one
seen
either.
Alien Resurrection, the fourth one?
Yes.
So remember that scene in Alien Resurrection where they have to swim in the xenomorphs?
Yes, I
So
remember
it
that,
seemed
yeah.
like a really shitty amateur version of that sequence.
It's actually worse though.
No, that's what I mean. Like, it's so much worse.
It
Yeah.
was so long. Like, he should have died.
They all should have died. Everyone in this movie should have died. Because how could like a discount Nathan Drake and some like
Well, that's what they were going. They even dressed him.
Yeah, just
Or
like
no, wait,
Nathan Drake.
I lied. In the Transformers, they dressed
Oh.
Mark Wahlberg like Nathan Drake, and I don't know if that was like a joke because he
Oh.
was supposed to play Nathan
Oh,
Drake.
I thought you were referring to the Mummy because I felt like Tom
No,
Cruise
I-
was dressed like Nathan Drake in Uncharted
Get
He
3.
your
was
shit
a little
movie
bit.
straight.
They kind of both were, but I noticed it more in Transformers.
But I don't understand how anyone
He's the
survived this
wrong
movie.
casting.
Well-
if you're trying to cast someone like Nathan Drake, it's not gonna work with Tom Cruise.
But this wasn't Uncharted.
No, I'm saying but the character was Nate
Sure.
for the most part.
Yeah, the problem with Tom Cruise is
He's
that
not a lovable asshole. He's just
Tom Cruise.
kind of a douche.
You're right. He doesn't have like a charisma or gravitas in any of his performances.
Yeah.
You know
Tom
what's
Cruise
sad?
doesn't play a good asshole.
You know what's sad is in my opinion, his best like character he's ever played, in the sense of just genuinely playing a character that's not just Tom Cruise, is got to be either Risky Business or Top Gun.
Yeah.
I
Which is
disagree.
kinda
I
sad.
think his best performance is The Last Samurai. Have you seen The Last Samurai?
Tom Cruise
think
is in The Last Samurai.
He's the.
I think it's
the
on
main
my
character.
it's on my queue.
Oh, then I
haven't
must have not
it yet.
watched it. Yeah.
It's
I
a
haven't watched
really
it yet.
good movie. And I can't remember. There's
He's a
another movie.
general, right?
Well,
He's like an American general.
he's an American general that has to like go to feudal Japan.
Yeah.
And Ken Watanabe is in it.
I
too.
guess that sounds interesting enough, though, where even if Tom Cruise didn't give a great performance, it still sounds like an interesting plot.
He's a good actor. I just don't know, like.
I don't know. I feel like he doesn't have charisma.
This kind of no. I think what we're trying to figure out is why they would cast him in this role when
It's
I
just
don't
not
think
his personality.
he's never played a character like this before. And I don't think it's fitting. Like other,
I think they cast him for name recognition. And
yeah,
the
That's
stunts.
what I was going to say.
That's
yeah.
true.
The stunt work.
but there isn't really any impressive stunt work in this movie.
Maybe they should have just
The
called him
plane.
Jack
I think
Reacher
just-
and had
yeah,
Jack
but
Reacher be the main
They
character
did,
in this
you
one.
see, I would agree with you, but
Even though it's not all practical.
yeah, they didn't crash a plane and then literally bring him back to life.
Yeah.
If they did, that'd be really impressive.
This should be Jack Reacher 3! And just
There you
have
go.
Jack
Hey, watch
Reacher
it.
fighting mummies.
Watch it, you little shit. You don't want them to bring these two universes together. They'll listen to you. They'll do anything.
I
for the
couldn't
quick
get
buck.
through the first Jack Reacher movie. I don't know why. I thought it was such bullshit. Like, it was like, oh my god, there's a red pen on the floor. She had a red pen too. Let's go here. It must be the secret clue. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Then I know for a fact you would hate the movie Zodiac, which is just 2 hours.
I've tried watching that on
It's
two
2 hours-
separate occasions, and I could not do it.
It's 2 hours and 40 minutes of like just like.
And I
following
should
clues.
like that movie, but I can't do it.
Yeah. You know what's sad though is
Oh my god, a shoelace! He has a shoelace! It
Speaking-
must be the...
Speaking of all of this, when I was watching The Mummy, one of the first thoughts I had when seeing Tom Cruise try to play like a Nathan Drake type character was like it's coming off like if Jack Reacher is just like trying to be slightly funnier and it's not landing at
Now
all.
with jokes.
You didn't feel that way? Because to me, he was basically Jack Reacher, but with like a few more jokes, and because none of them
Well,
landed,
there's nothing
it just
redeeming about
didn't work
like,
out. I don't
like
know.
they tried
How
to
explain
redeem him
it.
at the end, but like
Yeah.
with Uncharted,
Yeah, but Nathan Drake
they
isn't
do it
that
he's-
awful.
Yeah, well, I mean he's like a homicidal, insane
Yeah, but
person,
okay.
but his character's not like that. It's 'cause
Right.
it's a game.
Okay. But okay. So
Well, realistically speaking,
I think
yes.
we've made the.
You'll
Like,
never see Nate fight ISIS.
you heard it here first, folks. I feel like
Naughty Dog?
we've nailed like we've took the Uncharted comparison as far as we could, but just on its own.
But that's like a perfect example. Like I think that's what they tried to do, and they took it as far as they could, which isn't like far at all. So
Right.
it just didn't
You
work.
see, I thought, and I know this is gonna sound like, well, of course it's dummy, but I feel like they were trying to emulate the Brendan Fraser Mummy, which again, obviously sounds very obvious, but Brendan Fraser was a lovable asshole. He
Yeah.
was good at it because he was just
He has-
charming.
Tom Cruise has a different type of charisma.
Not the kind where he's like can be an asshole, but you still like him. Tom Cruise is
Yeah.
the like
He's the Mission Impossible.
he's the
type
straight
of-
man. He's
yeah.
not good.
Yeah,
at-
I'd agree with that.
He's a good straight man, and the Mission Impossible movies are evident of that.
I think Tropic Thunder, believe it or not, is great.
I thought he's
there's
really
great
Well,
evidence of
I
that.
think that's the one example of him going outside of what you'd think would be his range, and him still doing a very good job.
But even though he's goofy, he's still the straight man in his personality.
Yeah.
Like he's a weirdo, but he
he's
doesn't
an
see
insane,
it.
he's an insane straight man. To him, he's a straight man.
Right, sure. Okay,
Right.
that works for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of Brendan Fraser actually posted on Twitter.
Did he see it?
Yeah, and he said
Did he say "not my mummy" or something like that?
no. He said if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you know
here,
that they made
yeah.
multiple Scorpion King sequels?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
they
think there's
did.
4 of them.
Yeah.
I saw the first one in theaters.
Like with Dwayne Schrock.
No, with The Rock.
Dwayne Schrock.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Dwayne the Schrockcock Johnsons.
Can I just say something about like celebrity culture these days? I've noticed that like as a whole, outrage regarding remakes of movies, like actors speaking about remakes of movies they've been in the past. I've noticed that as time has gone on, they've become less and less critical of those remakes. Where even if they're not happy about it, they'll be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe passive aggressive about it or just more
Yeah.
lenient.
I wonder if
I
there's
don't
a
know.
reason for that. Like the studio's like, hey, shut up.
But then again, you can prove me wrong because there's that whole Kirsten Dunst, Tom Holland thing.
Right.
But
The
Tom
other-
Holland handled it
yeah.
really
And
well.
She was weird. I don't know why. Like, what was the point of that? You know,
Well-
she didn't say anything with the Andrew Garfield ones.
Well, she hinted at him, I thought.
I feel like the only other example of that would be Ghostbusters, where all the actors
Yeah,
really
Bill
were-
Murray.
as soon as the movie
miserable.
came out and they didn't have to be bullied into like promoting the movie, they basically all came out and
said it was awful.
basically said
Yeah,
that
but
there
that's
was
a
huge
very
disappointment.
different case purely because they
Sure,
were being
but-
harassed.
Yeah, sure, but still, regardless,
I don't know how.
at the end of
Those
the day,
movies
they
are
still
so
criticized the
old.
movie.
Like, how did the studio have any legal action?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd set that as an exception purely because of the circumstances. Whereas at Kirsten Dunst, she's not even involved anymore, and she wasn't harassed at any point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I just didn't see that as. Being
So I guess
necessary.
so that is an example of where that's not true. But I also felt like Brendan Fraser's comment, while passive aggressive, isn't necessarily all that critical onto anybody involved aside from the studio itself.
Yeah.
Like it's attacking the studio's choice to make the film.
I mean,
in
he
the
could have
first
been
place.
like, Tom Cruise sucks. My mommy's a man. Like, but he didn't.
But then again, the third Mummy movie wasn't that great.
No,
it
it
was really
was-
bad.
It's really
It
bad.
was fucking awful. Is
Yeah, it
what
was
it was.
bad.
It was really bad.
But there was no need for a third one, so
Well, I mean, there was no need for a remake either, but here we are.
right.
I don't know why they chose this movie to launch the universe.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
I
It's
know
a weird
why,
choice.
because The Mummy probably has the most brand recognition because
Of the
peop-
ride.
Well, the ride, but I'm talking
Here's-
about
here's
the,
the
I'm talking
truth.
about the movies.
I was
It's
about
the
to
most fresh in people's minds.
You're
'cause-
right, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people these days don't actually even know about the Brendan Fraser mummies, and I feel like the way that a lot of kids nowadays are familiar with it is the ride, even though the ride is based on the Brendan Fraser
Well,
movies.
I disagree. I think people still really do remember the Brendan Fraser mummies, the Brendan Fraser movies, because if you ask someone like, what was the last Dracula movie that came out, like
Dracula Untold.
yeah, but how many people would know that? Like how many people would tell you that that I Frankenstein or that Victor Frankenstein exist? Like they wouldn't. Like people know that the Brendan Fraser mummy
Were
movies
any
were
of
a
those
thing.
good? Was Victor Frankenstein good?
No, I don't recall any of them being good. I like from what I remember, all of these movies were commercially unsuccessful. They didn't because
Well,
Dracula
I
Untold was
Frankenstein.
supposed to launch this franchise.
Yeah.
And now it's like out of the
It's
continuity.
just it's boring. It was a boring movie.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Personally, I see Dracula or the Wolfman as a better way to launch.
I mean, I
Universe
agree,
movie.
but again, the
Iconic.
mummy.
Not the Mummy, the Dark Universe.
Yeah.
Sure, but I mean, at the same time, the mummy is. I get why
I
they
guess-
chose the
I
mummy.
guess-
Yeah, they
because-
wanted to do something different
No, they didn't. It's
in
the
regards to how
exact
it
same.
started.
No, I don't. I don't think that's why. It's because the mummy is more fresh in people's minds.
I don't know.
Because
I
the-
think
the
more
mummy-
people know Fraser, like more kids know him from Journey to the Center of the Earth.
I feel like
I don't know. I haven't met.
that is the worst sentence I've ever heard.
No, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
serious.
you're right.
I, don't,
In
I
part
wish it
two.
wasn't the truth.
I
but
feel like
'cause that
more
came
people
out.
know
In
that.
part two,
like,
yeah.
Again, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like Journey to the Center of the Earth 2 with
With
Dwayne the
the
Schrock
Schrock.
and Michael Caine and that one guy.
Sure.
That I think was in the Hunger Games, Pita
Oh
Bread.
yeah,
Like, I feel like people are aware of that movie's existence more than the first one.
probably.
Can I just
but that's
adj-
just his most recent movie.
I don't know about
Right.
that, just purely because in regards to like, in regards to the college I go to and all the film buffs I meet and talk to, even though they are film buffs and have seen all these classic films, when you talk to them about the Mummy, they don't know the Brendan Fraser Mummy, and it seems to be something that slipped people's minds where they associate just the ride or the original like
Well,
Boris
that just
Karloff
might be
Mummy.
those people, but I'm talking about if you did a.
But even the general public, not
But if you went
many
down
people.
on Sunset Boulevard or you went in Hollywood.
well, that's a
and
very
you-
specific group of people, though.
Yeah, again, but if you got like 1,000 responses from like if you just ask people on the street, you got 1,000 people, you'll get more like the answers for oh yeah, I remember seeing the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies or I remember those things happening. Like
But like,
They-
what
they-
is their react? Is it like, yeah, I saw that?
Like, but
I
if
feel
you-
like that would be their response. Not
yeah,
like,
but if you
oh my god, I love this movie so much. I want to see the Dark Universe with Brendan Fraser.
right, but I'm saying if you ask them, did you see I Frankenstein? Did you see Dracula Untold? They'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, well, because the original mummies were.
Like they understand
Good.
that there are
We're
movies.
objectively
that
better.
Well, they were
exist.
not only objectively, but they were popular, whereas the other two
Yeah.
were
Right, like
popular.
those
Yeah.
movies came out more recently, and they have become even. They faded into obscurity faster than the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies.
I
Honestly,
guess. It's
they're not.
Universal's safest bet.
Honestly, they're not even obscure because
they're not.
The
Like-
fact that they have a ride based on them makes them not.
Well,
obscure.
for God knows how long. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy just took over Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, I'm afraid Universal's is going to make a ride for the Minions.
That's a fair point.
Did,
yeah.
did that even happen yet?
Yeah, they have a ride for the Minions.
Fuck. God
Yeah.
damn it.
It's a moneymaker, man.
It's a Minion.
Unlike
maker.
this movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
shit.
say that, but apparently the movie just broke even recently.
did it really?
I believe so.
That's like not
Because the movie had.
great.
Yeah. That's
No,
true.
it's not. But I think in its worldwide gross, it made like 500 million something
Because
dollars.
all these movies are made for China,
That's true.
for Asian markets. Not that it's their fault. It's not the Asian market's fault.
I think
But-
that China is in a phase where we were 10 years ago, where we would see all the shitty movies, and now we're starting to not see all the shitty movies. Like we
It's
would go
because they
see,
probably didn't send the shitty movies overseas.
right, because China's like they're not banning everything that's
Yeah.
an export anymore. So like now they have all the game consoles. Now they get to see more movies from Hollywood. So like to them, it's all new. Like this,
Yeah.
they haven't realized.
Which is why I said it's not their fault.
Yeah, and they don't really have much to compare it to. They don't.
Exactly.
I don't think they have access to all the art house films that we have. They don't. They don't have.
Their internet is
They don't
so
have
highly
Birdman
censored.
and La La Land and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's a communist country. But regardless, the Dark Universe is, as far as we
I
know,
don't
still
know, I
going to
just
be a
thought the
thing.
Dark Tower. They need to really change these
That's
names.
a whole other podcast.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's not
we
going to
kind
happen.
of talked about it last time.
Yeah, but we're not going to give it any
I can
more time.
I can cover it in 3 sentences, frankly.
It was bad.
fine.
It was bad. Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey were great.
You're already past the 3-word limit, but keep going.
Oh, I said 3 sentences.
Oh.
And then the third
So
sentence
many.
is it had potential to be good, but that potential was sadly wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had little moments, even this is a 4th sentence, where you were like, damn, like I could really see them using these little moments to make a really good film, but instead they were used to make a really bad movie.
Just like The Mummy.
Yep.
Only problem is
There's only
that
one good moment in the entire movie.
debatable. But I want to say
Half a good moment?
Well, some
That
moments
sounds
are
more like it.
No, it's more. I was gonna say some moments are so bad that they are good. So you could technically say that there are more than one good moment.
It's ridiculous.
but
in the movie.
unlike the Dark Tower, the Dark
We
Universe
didn't even
is
talk
going
about
to
Russell.
happen.
We didn't talk about Russell Crowe.
Do
and
we
all
have
the,
to?
all the pandering
Do
they
we
did for
have
the rest
to?
of the series?
Okay.
Well, I was pissed because I love Jekyll and Hyde. That's like,
Well,
my shit.
he's their Nick Fury, basically.
which is not.
that's the
That's
first
the
time.
dumbest shit ever.
I just want to say what you will, think what you will, but I feel like that's the first time
Anyone said that
in
they
the
love Jekyll and
no,
Hyde?
the first time in the history of the human race someone has said out loud to another person, "Jekyll and Hyde is my shit."
Because I love that character. I don't like. It's more Hyde because it reminds me of Joker.
I think
And
there
I'm
are
drawn
other
to-
versions of Jekyll and Hyde that are cooler
Well,
than Jekyll and
the
Hyde.
TV show version, the TV show version of Jekyll and Hyde is so much better. But like,
What TV show?
there's I think it's on BBC or something. It's actually pretty good.
Oh,
but-
Sherlock.
No.
It stars Idris Elba. I
That's
think.
Luther.
That's Luther.
Luther. Fuck.
God, Jesus Christ!
The Dark Tower.
No, I like. That's the reason I like Carnage so much is because I like those crazy, like insane characters, and the only scene besides that like transformation scene in the beginning that I liked in this movie was when Russell Crowe turned into Hyde, even though it was stupid as shit.
It was stupid,
It was kind of nice to see
and
that he could kind of do it.
I know this is going to sound retarded.
He's a good actor.
But
I wasn't
I thought-
surprised
He's
that
a
he
great
pulled it
I
off.
thought Mr. Hyde looked cooler in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen because they at least
Yeah, they
tried-
Van Helsing had the best Jekyll and Hyde.
Wait, was he in Van Helsing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, right, he was in the beginning.
I don't even remember that movie.
Yeah, that movie was. That
Oh.
movie was the Dark Universe before the Dark Universe.
To
It
be
had
real
all
with
the
you,
monsters.
I liked it way better than the new Mummy.
Quite frankly, Van Helsing is like right up there with the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. Like,
No.
in terms of
No.
guilty pleasure, not in quality.
Maybe in
I
terms
tried
of
it.
guilty pleasure, but
Like
in
the
terms objectively, the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies are
Like
far better.
the first Mummy movie is good, but Mummy Returns is bad, but in a good way. Mummy 3
It's
is
just
bad
bad.
in a bad way. I feel like Van Helsing is bad in a good way, like Mummy 2.
Okay,
you guys
debatable, but
tried
the Mummy
watching-
1 is
Oh, absolutely.
a million times better.
Yeah.
It's not the best movie in the
Have
world,
you guys
but it's
tried
a
watching
solid
the
movie.
Van Helsing TV show?
I didn't know there was a Van Helsing
I
TV
made
show.
it probably.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah, did I finish the first episode?
Is
I
it
think I
good?
made
Is it worth checking out?
No.
Oh. I was curious about it.
The first episode is so Van Helsing's a woman, which doesn't.
I'm okay with
I don't
that.
care about that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Then what-
bother
what
me.
monsters
Well, Van
does he
Helsing is
fight?
just a monster
It's
hunter.
just-
There's
Yeah.
no other characteristic, really.
Yeah, so basically, she's like in a coma
Okay.
in a bunker
Okay.
with a marine,
Okay.
and the world went to shit because
Sure.
everything is vampires.
So Walking
that sounds
Dead,
inter-
but with vampires?
It
Yeah, and so
sounds
basically what
interesting.
happened in the pilot is like another marine comes back who I didn't know was a marine because he's not dressed like a marine, but he says he's a marine like 8 times, so I know he's a marine.
Okay.
And like he comes back with all these survivors, and they tried to do season 2 of The Walking Dead.
Oh, no, they go to the farm?
No, they all just sit around and talk.
Oh, even worse.
And then there's a doctor who's a vampire who just sits in a cage and goes the whole time, and it pissed me off. And then they get attacked by vampires, and she wakes up and she goes, "Where's my daughter?" And they go, "I don't know." And then she's like, "Okay." And then that was the end of the episode.
This sounds nothing like a Van Helsing show should.
That's what the first episode. I don't know if it gets any better. I'm not.
Yeah,
gonna watch
here's the thing
it.
about Van Helsing. When someone says Van Helsing, the first thoughts I have are like
It's a
Victorian.
badass
Yeah.
monster hunter.
Yeah, and usually in a like Victorian
It's
Yeah.
not. It's modern day
era. That's fine. I don't mind a modern day
Yeah,
Van
sure.
Helsing or Van Helsing. Van
But
Helsing's just a
it's
monster
during
hunter.
an apocalypse.
Yeah, just like when I hear Van Helsing, I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be at least some sense of like, there's got to be some presence of monsters.
Basically,
but
it's-
and it's got to have some
Yeah.
action.
Remember the Resident
Yeah.
Evil movie when they're in the desert?
Sure, yeah,
That's what the world is.
I'm okay with that. That sounds.
But isn't
pretty
that weird?
cool.
I pictured like Victorian era, or even like a city.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? It's just outside. They go outside,
Yeah.
and there's just vampires that act like the zombies that run really fast.
That sucks, and that sounds awful. But what I will say is,
and all they do is
yeah.
turn on the lights, and they go, "Oh no!"
Dude,
and they run away.
all Van Helsing is basically gothic art style with like a badass monster hunter as the main character. So if there are any other changes made,
I don't know.
I really don't mind. You know
I don't
what I
know
mean?
if she's
Yeah.
a badass. I haven't seen enough. I'm sure she is, but
That-
there's the gothic art style is completely.
It
Gone.
reminds me of this anime called Blood Plus or Blood.
Go on.
It's basically just a
No,
vampire.
stop.
It's basically just a vampire chick who the government finds out about and uses as a monster hunter.
Oh.
And it's a guilty pleasure watch for sure. It's so bad it's good
Sounds
watch.
like
Van
Underworld.
Helsing guilty pleasure or Mummy Returns guilty pleasure?
That's hard to say.
Spider-Man
I'm gonna go with-
3 guilty pleasure.
There you go. Now we're talking.
The guiltiest of pleasures.
Honestly,
Boy.
Spider-Man 3 is a bad movie, but it's actually not as stupid as everyone makes it out to be, and it's far better than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh no, not even a question.
I don't know. I think electric eels can fix the gaps in my teeth.
And
I'm a
with-
believer.
And with that, we're gonna go back to the dark.
Hashtag
region.
Jamie Foxx's gap.
All right, so I think it's pretty clear. No one here likes the new Mummy.
Ooh, let's talk about the lawsuit.
What
There was a
lawsuit?
lawsuit?
DC Comics
Oh,
sued
yeah,
Universal for using the
First of
name-
all, the
moniker
universe
Dark
had its
Universe.
own credit in the beginning of the movie where the studio logos are. They gave the universe a credit, which really pissed me off.
Yeah, I feel like that was a little presumptuous. It kind of reminds me of, what do you call it? The Ghostbusters thing where they had the Ghost Corpse logo come up.
Yeah.
Because they wanted,
even then-
'cause they wanted a male Ghostbusters with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, I think, or Chris
They should have
Pratt.
just done that the first time. I mean, not that like the girls were bad or anything, but
I think it
know.
would have been shit either way.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like they would have been more afraid to have it be shit if they had higher profile like Chris Pratt.
honestly, like it didn't make a difference in my. It wouldn't have made a difference. I think you could.
I don't know. I would just assume that with like bigger stars, the studio would have been like, get the fuck out.
I mean, they
of here.
had
We're
Chris
changing."
Hemsworth, and they put his name on the posters for the new Ghostbusters.
That's true. And all he did was dance.
Honestly, he was one of my favorite parts of the movie, but he's still bad. I was going to talk about the lawsuit. So basically, there's the Dark Universe for DC.
Did anything happen with that? Did that go through?
Not yet, but it's still in
Okay.
it's in development hell essentially. And what it is it's all the supernatural characters of Justice League Dark, and it's all the supernatural DC characters like Zatanna, John Constantine, Deadman, Swamp Thing, all grouped up
You forgot
together.
the best one, Etrigan Demon person.
Oh, I always forget about him. I'm going to be
No one
honest.
cares.
He's so him too, and basically they use the term Dark Universe to describe like the Justice League Dark's enemies and
Yeah.
just their overall world. And so when Universal used the term or the moniker Dark Universe, DC just sued him on it.
All right, so I found an article, and it says Warner Brothers has been attached to its own Dark Universe project since 2013. I think Guillermo del Toro was attached to it at one point.
Yeah.
The name has been used.
Hellboy.
Yeah. What?
Wasn't Hellboy Universal? Or is that Sony?
No, Hellboy's not in DC.
You just said Warner Brothers.
No, I
No,
said.
guys, to clear it up,
I said Guillermo del
guys.
Toro was attached to make this movie, the Dark Universe movie.
Guys,
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but
thought
for
you
the-
meant for Universal's Dark.
but for
Universe.
the
No.
record, Hellboy
Oh.
is a Dark Horse Comics property,
Yeah.
and that was Universal
I know,
that
but
made
they
the movies.
They did make the movie, right?
Yeah,
that's
Universal.
what I thought
No,
you meant.
Guillermo del
for-
Toro for
I
like
thought you
the
meant
long-
for the Universal. Dark
Guillermo del
Universe.
Toro was
Okay.
going to make the Dark Universe Justice League movie.
Gotcha. That could have been.
The
kinda
name
cool.
has been used as the working title for the studio's Justice League Dark movie, despite having undergone several crew turnarounds. Yada 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 yada
That
yada
movie's
yada.
never gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Liman at a point was attached to it, which reminds me, Doug Liman did Edge of Tomorrow. I don't know why they had Alex Kurtzman, who did Transformers almost ruined the new Star Trek movies and ruined the Amazing Spider-Man series, they put him in charge of this movie. Why did he spearhead the Mummy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Edge of Tomorrow was actually good though. I enjoyed that movie.
that's why I'm so curious why they didn't have like someone like Doug Liman or Brad Bird, someone who Tom Cruise has worked with before,
Yeah.
to be the people behind this movie. At least you have like a team that has shown that they're capable and that they can work well together. You know?
Yeah, we should also address how.
Didn't he leave, Kurtzman?
Did he?
It's a rumor that he might leave.
He should.
Let's also talk about the fact that Tom Cruise had
So much
loads of
control.
creative control over the movie.
Well, I think that's understandable because from what I understand, he knew this movie was a steaming pile of shit, and he
But he
tried to
didn't-
salvage it.
What did he add? Like,
I think he was just there for the process of editing.
You
Like,
know, he
was just
refused to
there and
kiss the
supervised.
main female actress. She talked
Yeah.
about it, and that
On
right
set.
before, right before
Oh
they
yeah,
filmed,
you mentioned this.
He
he said that he
embarrassed
just
her-
couldn't do it.
he embarrassed her in front of the whole fucking
Yeah.
crew, like 300 people. He's like, yeah, we're not doing this. I don't know why. I don't picture him as being like an asshole like that. I don't
No,
know.
I don't know either. Apparently, he's one of the nicer people in Hollywood, Scientology aside.
I don't think he was trying to be an asshole. I feel like in his mind he was improving the movie.
I guess. I mean, there's that.
Because kissing
Really-
girls is gay.
No, it's because there's such a big age gap.
That's true. It is a little
It's
creepy.
like a 30 or 25 year.
But they
age gap.
still hint at a romantic relationship between the
I
two
know.
in the movie.
If
Well, that's
anything,
'cause there
I
was
do-
nothing else for her to do.
If nothing else, I'll give the movie credit for not like going that far because it's like every movie needs some sort of romance.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, it worked
what was
in-
that? I couldn't hear you.
I agree.
Okay.
I didn't like that. It worked in the first Mummy.
I just
movie,
yawned.
but-
What the fuck's wrong with you
I
guys?
know. I'm just fucking with you.
No, it's after they literally say we're gonna steal treasure from ISIS. The movie just can't recover from that.
Yeah, that was
I
ridiculous.
wish that's what they actually said.
They
Otherwise,
said it in like a more obscure.
if the movie was nowhere near as subtle or like trying to take itself as seriously as it was, like the movie just straight up said, "We're gonna fight ISIS and steal their gold." Like I would be more on board with
They
this
were basically
movie.
like they said ISIS without saying ISIS. They're like, these like terrorists are going around destroying artifacts, so I'm gonna go steal their gold, and they're all dressed as ISIS people. So like I don't know who else that could have been.
They could have been mummies.
Sure. Before they opened the tomb,
They could have been mummies with guns, man. You know,
So, like,
first they give
Sofia Vergara out of her sarcophagus.
what?
That would have been so much better.
Sophia Batula,
I know. Batula. Stromboli.
Tortellini,
I don't like it.
spaghetti.
Bagooter. I actually would have preferred a movie of her in ancient Egypt.
But then, how would you have Tom Cruise?
He could have been Imhotep. I don't know. Fuck Tom Cruise. I would have actually preferred like the old version, like an old version of it. That just seemed like such a better story. It probably would have been easier to write too.
I mean, I want to know how easy it would be to write a movie about ancient Egypt.
Because
when-
they have like they can use any supernatural thing they want.
I was gonna say how, like, I'm curious how far they could go writing a movie in ancient Egypt with Alex Kurtzman behind it. Like,
That's
ideally,
true.
you wouldn't have him
It ends up being a prequel to the first Star Trek movie.
or Stargate, because that
Yeah.
actually does tie into the pyramids. I think I don't know.
I don't like it.
Dark Universe. It's just
At least they
depressing.
only had one of them and not what's his face. It's Kurtzman and who's the other guy?
Orsi.
Yeah, at least it wasn't both.
Yeah.
It would have been so much
The
worse.
dynamic duo of cancer.
But why do they keep getting hired?
You know, I'm not sure. I
really don't know.
I'm genuinely not sure. I don't understand why they still have a career when basically all they've done is make consumable, accessible garbage.
Well, that's probably why they have a career.
Well,
Emphasis on the word consumable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a. That's true. I answered my own question. Damn.
Did they write the third Star Trek movie?
No, I think Justin Lin did the third one.
Is it bad that I didn't like that movie?
Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
I thought it was. It was definitely the most Star Trek movie of that trilogy. So you probably
it
just
felt,
one was
I
like
think
Star
it
Trek.
just felt like an episode of Star Trek that was stretched out way too long.
Well, that's what some of the movies feel like too. So you
I
probably
guess,
just
I don't
wouldn't
know.
like Star
I don't
Trek.
remember what my issue. I guess it was like so just by the numbers. You know, like you get to a part and you're like, okay, now this is gonna happen because they have to do
Right.
something here, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than the second one. Yeah, like Star Trek isn't an action franchise.
I know.
Just like The Mummy isn't an action franchise. So
I mean, kind of. It's not like
Not r-
it's
I
not
mean-
Mission Impossible action.
I mean, the Brendan Fraser franchise certainly made it seem like it could
it's
be.
like Indiana Jones action.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the only thing I can compare it to.
Like, I think
It's not London is gonna be destroyed. Let's run.
yeah, by a giant mummy face that we've seen multiple times before.
And that set of London was awful. It was the same street that they just used in like different angles.
Another thing, that movie was just really ugly. Like, I'm not even saying
There's no color. Nothing had color.
like it's not even a matter of
ISIS had the most
design.
color.
It's just like in terms of color, it's very drab and brown and gray.
Even the Monster Hunter headquarters, where you would think would have like trophies and
Yeah.
shit of like old kills.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Say what you will about Marvel, but at least they have color. Like it's vibrant.
Actually,
and it's still,
I disagree.
why?
I think DC has more color than Marvel movies.
You are so wrong.
No, listen, because Marvel movies, except for Guardians, they stopped doing it with Guardians. But if you look at like between Winter Soldier and I guess maybe the first or second Guardians, they went to digital instead of using film, and it's very gray. Like there's color, but it's very washed. And I know you're getting really angry, but you have to look at a picture.
No, I know what you're saying, but I completely disagree.
I'll show you. I'll bring up a picture.
Because like, I
I'm
think
not saying
I
it's
get what you're
bad.
saying. I know what you're saying. I get like the argument to Winter Soldier that makes sense. Because like most of that movie,
Well,
the
it's
characters are
a
fighting.
technicality though, because the thing
It's
is,
only their color grading.
that's all it is.
That's all it is.
Yeah, Marvel has more colorful films. It's just that the colors themselves are like sharper in DC movies, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Because it's color grading is what you're talking about. Yeah, I can see that.
You see, what I'm saying is that the Marvel movies, they have color. They just have color. The DC movies, they're poorly lit and everything is gray.
Yeah,
and
no,
brown.
I'm just saying like
Superman
here.
is gray and brown. Suicide Squad is mostly dark. Batman v Superman takes mostly.
No, I think
in-
Batman vs
at
Superman is actually
Here,
the
look at
most
this.
colorful out of all the
Look
DC
at the
movies.
Civil
or Suicide
War.
Squad.
I'd say Wonder Woman is.
Look at the Civil War thing. Like the reds should be popping out and stuff like that, but like look, it's very uniform.
Right, but if you look at the other side, you have Iron Man and Spider-Man whose reds are popping out. You have Vision who's
But
green,
then no, I'm saying if you
gold,
look at
and red. And that's just like one frame. If you like,
well, even if it's the scene with them like running at each other or whatever, it's still the same
but if you like,
grading.
if you look at the part where Black Panther is chasing Bucky, like when they're in the tunnel, like there's still more color, more vibrancy there than in the entirety of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I just don't like their post process, and I think they stopped doing it. Like, I'll compare it to Guardians right here, and it's probably because they're all aliens, but except for Chris Pratt, but it's probably not gonna load. But like, even Gamora's skin pops out.
Sure, but compare it to something from DC.
No, I'm saying they fixed their issue. I just think they had it for like 2 or 3 movies in a row, where it was like they tried to use the same effect, so it looked like it was from the same universe, and it ended up making it look like not bad, just not compared to the page of a comic book, you know?
Right, but at the
It's
same
not bright.
time,
Like it's Captain America. It's not.
there's only so much of the cartoonish effect that can make it through translation.
No, I know. I just think it was they started making it just kind of washed out, and they realized what they were doing, and they stopped.
Yeah, I mean the ones from this year, Guardians, Spider-Man, and Thor
Well, I
are
know,
all
I'm
very
saying
colorful
they
movies.
fixed it with the
Doctor
first,
Strange was.
They fixed it with the first Guardians movie.
Doctor Strange was very, very colorful.
I know, but that was after.
I see what you
Like
mean.
they hit Guardians 1
Like,
and they stopped doing it.
I'd say like Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man, probably the least vibrant movies in that universe.
Yeah.
But those are just 3 movies compared to 3 of the 4 movies that DC has done, including the 5th one, Justice League, that looks even worse.
I said that. I said that movie looks disgusting. All
It
the enemies
does.
are brown.
Yeah, and
But like
it's-
compared to the beginning of Wonder Woman,
right.
where it's like almost
Green
like ancient
and
Greece and it's
blue,
bright.
yeah.
You know, that was the thing. It's
Yeah.
like the colors are there, but they're not given like their due diligence until Guardians 1, and then they stopped.
Yeah. How did
Personally.
we get to this? I thought we were.
You're also colorblind.
Oh fuck. Yeah, but I'm not retarded. I know. I know what
I know.
colors
I'm
are
kidding.
what.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Dark Universe
Yeah.
equals you.
Yeah.
But even that, like,
well said.
which is weird. But if you because if you do the Universal like haunted house thing in the front, at least in LA, where they have like the old movie sets, you know, like those are infinitely more creative than anything we saw in the Mummy.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
The only thing I liked actually was her cell. That was the only thing I thought
Her
was
cell.
yeah, the Mummy.
Oh,
Is
I
like,
mean,
How they contained her.
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the only thing I thought they put effort into.
It looked like straight out of like one of those bondage porn sites, though. Like one of those really fucked up
That's
things.
a way to think about it.
I mean,
I
guess
didn't get
so.
that at all, but I can see it. I just
Now
didn't,
I see it.
didn't think that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
fine.
could-
I didn't
Initially.
like it.
you know, the only thing I saw in that scene was my raging erection blocking the screen.
Even though there's nothing really wrong with what you said, I'm still gonna bleep it.
They were
I'm
poison.
kidding.
They were
No,
literally.
you can believe it all
They were
you want.
literally like poisoning her as she screamed. But you are right. The scream she gave wasn't like I'm in pain scream. It was a bit erotic sounding.
It was instead of a oh, it was a oh.
Yeah. Was that really butter on my popcorn, or was it?
This is disgusting.
This is good. Okay, you can bleep that.
No, I'm leaving that in.
So the Dark Universe.
There's just nothing like. this is
Maybe
another
we should.
thing.
Maybe instead of bleeping out any bad words, we should just bleep out every time we say the Dark Universe.
I should do that.
You
But
don't
this
think
is
so?
like a case where there's only one thing that's out for it and it sucks, and then everything else that's lined up also looks like ass. Like I don't want what's her fucking face?
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Really?
Really?
I,
'Cause
I
yeah,
feel like that's a
I
great
think that's
choice.
What the
perfect.
fuck is that movie gonna be?
Have you seen Bride of Frankenstein?
Yeah, but like, are they gonna do that again? With
Well,
her?
no.
I
From
feel
what
like
I
that wouldn't work.
understand, what's his face who wrote? I forget the name of the writer, but the man who's writing Bride of Frankenstein. His name is
John Woo.
no. What's his face? God damn it!
Rob
He
Zombie?
wrote Spider-Man and Jurassic Park.
The first Spider-Man?
Yes. David Cope, I think is his name. Yes, David Cope. He also wrote Mission Impossible 1 and War of the Worlds. So he's one of the most hit or miss writers in Hollywood. And what he said about Bride of Frankenstein is that it's a quote-unquote liberation story or something like that. So I'm assuming in this movie, Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein are already a thing. Like, it's not their origin story. I don't
So
know.
we're just gonna see a gross Javier Bardem abuse Angelina Jolie.
I mean, when you put it that way...
Do you want to see that?
Can I just say
Which version of me are you asking? Which aspect of my personality
Wait,
are
guys,
you asking?
guys. The
the
Angelina
one that would go
Jolie.
see the movie.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing. I don't think the movie's gonna be good, but I think Angelina Jolie's a good choice.
No,
to
I
play,
think she's a fantastic actress.
Bride
I
of
just
Frankenstein.
don't know why. I guess.
Because she looks perfect and like has played roles
You're
like
saying
Maleficent
she's
that
ugly?
would work.
Here's what
Oh.
I'll say. I can understand the
I just don't know
Mummy-
what this is gonna be.
Exactly. That's part of the where I get your
Yeah, I
skepticism
agree.
because
Yeah, sure.
I can see the Mummy being an action movie. It's been done well before.
Yeah.
This is just the version of it that it
It's
wasn't
not
done
good.
well. But Bride of Frankenstein is such. It has yet to be translated in today's popular culture, in
Yeah,
today's
it's not
entertainment.
modernized.
You
Right.
wouldn't like if they
But
turned
there's
it into an
other-
action movie. I don't know how they would.
I don't either. But like, and there's been so many liberation stories. Like, I just don't. I feel like it's gonna be the same thing with a different skin.
I mean, that's everything. Like, but at the same time, if it's fun, if it's well written, If it's engaging, sure, but
I think they should just go as gothic as they can.
I agree. But
Yeah, agreed.
Then
like,
I'd be
the idea
I
of
wouldn't mind.
the idea of seeing Bride of Frankenstein as an action movie is almost as disgusting as
Yeah.
seeing a Jumanji sequel with The Rock.
You know, speaking of that, that would have been amazing if the whole, dark universe or whatever was all like gothic Victorian
Like how they-
England,
Like
or just
that-
other countries around that era.
Like
Like that
would
one
be really
show
cool,
that's
and
on
it was
TV.
gothic.
The one show that's kind
Penny
of like
Dreadful?
Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be cool if they went like a Penny Dreadful like era route?
Yeah.
That would not only work better, I feel like, but I feel like it would allow for the universe to be more original.
I just think Bram
You know?
Stoker and Bela Lugosi are rolling over in their graves right now. I don't know. And then like the Invisible Man with Johnny Depp. What is that going to be a fish out of water plot? Because I
No,
hate
that's
that
the creature
shit.
of the Black Lagoon.
Fuck you.
You were literally asking for me to.
Who's playing that? Did they even say?
I think they're trying to get Scarlett Johansson to be the lady that he falls in love with.
So it's just going to be King Kong.
I mean, that's what it is. It's always been that, but yeah, basically.
So stupid.
I
I don't want
agree.
to see the same fucking plot. Like I think with Bride of Frankenstein, this is gonna sound really bizarre, but I picture it being almost like a Shakespeare play
Could be.
type of format.
It could be like Macbeth.
Yeah,
Frankenstein is Macbeth.
That's actually what I picture, and I would be actually
That would be really cool.
really interested in
Yeah.
seeing that.
I think for Dracula, they should go the Castlevania route.
that could be pretty cool too.
That would be cool.
Who's playing Dracula?
They haven't cast him yet, so let's
Okay.
cast Dracula. My pick, Michael Fassbender.
Colin Farrell.
How old are they gonna make him?
I don't know, but wait, who did you say?
Colin Farrell.
No.
Oh, because of what was that movie where he was a vampire? What is that movie called?
Oh, I was actually thinking of a Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them. But
I haven't
works
seen
too.
that.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind him as an actor. I don't know why people don't like him.
No, he's a good actor. He's just been in some really awful
Like
projects.
Winter's Tale.
In the first Daredevil, he was Bullseye.
But like, I thought he was the better part of that movie.
Yeah,
even though
I agree. He did a good
wasn't
decent
really
job.
Him
Michael
and Michael
Bullseye.
Clark Duncan, yeah.
Yeah, basically, like he's one of those actors where
Is he dead?
Yeah,
That's sad.
he's
Yeah.
a great actor. He just finds himself a lot of the time in bad, like just projects.
Yeah.
You know who else is
It's
like
like
that?
with Clive Owen.
Idris Elba's that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He's
I
a
feel
great
like he
actor.
hasn't done his worst. Isn't as bad as theirs.
Colin Farrell's. Oh yeah, I agree for sure.
Yeah.
His new movie looks kind of.
Why not make
strange.
Idris Elba Dracula?
That would be bad.
That would be pretty cool.
I would enjoy that.
I don't know why I pictured Ian McKellen, even though he's old.
He is fairly old.
But I just don't know how young they want to go with him.
Well, I mean, they're going pretty old with most of the actors, with Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, Javier Bardem,
The Invisible Man's gonna
Russell
be like.
Crowe.
This is what I picture the Invisible Man. It's just a character. It's Johnny Depp, but we can't see we can't see him, and he's just gonna be bumping into people, going, "Oh, sorry, oh, sorry," stealing alcohol. Oh, I'm sorry.
You see, it would be interesting if they made this cinematic universe where every character is its own genre.
Because they can.
Yeah, they could. Like, if one of them was an action movie, one of them was a horror, one of them was a comedy.
But then they're all gonna have to Avengers team up, and that's gonna be such AIDS.
You see, I don't want... Like, what would they fight in an event? Like, Cthulhu?
Mothra.
You know, it'd be a cool way to do that crossover is if they did a Van Helsing movie that tied it all together where he's hunting different monsters. and they
Or,
assemble into
alternatively,
groups.
League of
Yes,
Extraordinary
the fight.
Gentlemen.
They'll never touch that again. The movie that made Sean Connery quit acting.
Yeah.
They'll never touch that.
LXG.
That could have been. That actually could have been a good movie.
I actually haven't seen that movie.
It's so fucking bad. It is so
is
bad.
it so bad I have to watch
It's
it bad?
one of the best, worst movies
That's.
ever.
I was just
Okay,
gonna say.
so yeah, I
it's,
have to watch it.
It's not bad where it's like, fuck this, I can't.
It's
do
not
it.
Suicide Squad bad. It's Mummy Returns bad, except so much worse, but so much better.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to know who's on that team? Because it's so ridiculous. I forget who Sean Connery plays. Sean Connery plays Sean Connery.
Basically.
There's
He plays Nick Fury
basically. There's Dorian Gray. There's
as the villain, basically.
Captain Nemo, the Hollow Man.
Oh, these are all like
Doctor-
characters from other.
They're all literary
things,
characters.
essentially.
They're all-
All
yeah.
literary characters. I don't
There's
know why, except
Dr.
from other
Jekyll and
things.
Mr. Hyde.
I don't even remember him in the movie at all.
So why are
Yeah.
they connected? Why are they meeting each other?
Because they're the LXG, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
This is disgusting.
They team up to fight evil in a submarine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely worse
And they drive in...
than whatever the Dark Universe could ever conceive of.
Yeah.
What's that place where the Pope is?
The Vatican?
Yeah, they drive in the Vatican. Or, like, where the Vatican is.
I
But-
have no memory of that. All I remember is Dorian Gray walking around a library looking at himself. That's the only thing I remember from the movie.
Of all the things you
This
choose to remember.
painting is the painting.
My painting.
Is your painting, and your painting is my painting.
So let's cast the rest of the Dark Universe, because why not?
Who else is there?
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Andy Serkis. Just make him CGI.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
So was I.
Easy pick. Quasimodo,
Um.
the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Fuck. What's his name? Damn it.
Amy Schumer.
There wouldn't have to be any makeup. Ah!
Wow, that's awful.
That's so bad. What were you thinking?
Matthew Broderick.
Toby Maguire.
Wait, he didn't
Ew.
play Quasimodo in the animated version.
No, I
did
don't
he?
know. I don't remember.
He played Simba.
Can you imagine a Toby Maguire Hunchback of
That
Notre
would be
Dame?
the most awkward thing.
It would be very awkward. I think he's just done with acting. I haven't seen him in anything.
I think he has kids.
Oh shit!
I'll take them.
Who should be Quasimodo?
John Goodman.
That would be so gross.
That would be so gross, but I would not be opposed to it at all.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna go with
Come
John
out of
Goodman.
your tower. No, I'm eating. Fuck you, bitch.
He doesn't even sound like that.
I know.
Yeah, you sounded like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, dude.
That was just what came out.
Okay, so John Goodman.
Who's the Phantom of the Opera? Someone has to sing.
Hugh
Who's a
Jackman.
good singer? Jared Leto?
Hugh Jackman. Shut up. Hugh Jackman.
I'd be okay with that.
No, but he's already Van Helsing.
Ew.
I would be okay with Hugh Jackman as the Phantom of the Opera.
Okay, so we casted him. Okay.
But what about Van Helsing?
Wasn't that already a movie?
What?
Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah, with Gerald
You know
Butler.
what's sad is that even
Yeah,
though
you probably do.
even though Jared Leto's a good actor and all, because he's so eccentric and because of Suicide Squad, if they ever announce him to be in another movie, with the exception of Blade Runner because it's Blade Runner, I'm like going to be cautious before going in.
You see, I'm not, because I
You
don't.
wanna-
I feel like he's
I
going to
don't-
choose weird
I don't.
projects.
I don't. Well, he does, but I don't blame his Joker on him.
I didn't see the Joker's my favorite character of all time, and I did not like him at all. Only because I feel like they showed us the worst parts of his performance.
Right.
He has potential to play a good Joker, but even though it's not entirely his fault,
Or
he did mention
they
having a lot of
should've
say.
justified- They didn't set up why the Joker was like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the record, he did say that he was like heavily involved with creating the Joker character, so some of his
Right.
own decisions were added. So it's not entirely his fault, but like
We didn't see enough of
that's
it.
fair. I think we can give it time.
There's
but
like an incredible amount
still.
of footage that apparently is not in the movie. Like, there's only 7 minutes of him on screen.
well, they did a cut where they supposedly added all the Joker footage, but what ended up happening was it was like 3 more minutes or something like that.
Well, didn't you say it offended everyone?
He offended everyone?
Like the footage they had was like
No, when
him
they
abusing-
did test screenings, people were upset that Joker was mean to Harley.
which he always has been.
But
throughout.
they don't care. They're like, why does he punch her? That's not okay.
Okay.
I feel like that's something where it's always been a part of
That doesn't make sense
the
though. 'cause
Joker Harley
then-
relationship.
Yeah, but then she goes and kicks ass. So like,
And she eventually, retaliates against
Yeah.
the Joker. Yeah.
and like I said last time, I wish they had a moment, or at least I hope they have a moment coming up where like in the animated series, there's always like that really sweet, tender moment between Harley and Batman.
I always had this interesting theory about that, where the Joker is romantically in love with Batman, and Harley's romantically in love with the Joker, but there are times in which Harley can view Batman as kind of like another girl, supposedly, to like steal
Yeah.
the Joker's heart. So there's like a weird love triangle that
Yeah.
you're getting,
And I just wish they touched. There's like a scene in in the animated version where like I can't remember. I don't want to misquote it, so I'll look it up.
Clearly, being as we've segued to Batman and the Joker and Suicide Squad, clearly the Dark Universe is just hard to talk about. It's
It
so
really
awful.
is, but at the same time, I don't know. I want it to be good. I mean, I'm not opposed to it being a thing, and I'm not opposed to enjoying it. It's just that if they keep making shit movies like The Mummy, I'm not going to go see this again. I'll give Bride of Frankenstein a chance because
I just need to see a trailer.
there's more talent behind that one, I think. But I don't know. I feel like DC's starting to fix themselves. Universal isn't. They're not. It's not impossible for them to like steer this ship in the right direction. You know.
No, it's not.
It's not too late. I just feel like they don't care.
Well, I think they would if this movie was a worse financial problem for them. But I don't know.
China needs to start banning Hollywood again. So all these movies fail.
Uh, you know, I feel like we're all depressed now after talking about this.
I mean, I feel like it's like the Venom thing. It's too early. So we don't know. It's probably going to suck, but it's also early. So it might not suck as bad as we think. Like on a scale of Ghostbusters to Amazing Spider-Man 1, it might be in the middle. Even though The Mummy was closer to Ghostbusters.
I guess.
That's such an interesting chart, but you know what?
I don't know.
I feel like it works well.
I didn't know what to put at the
No,
other end.
it works well. Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think it's closer to Ghostbusters.
I don't know. These stories have been told so many times that
There's ways to make them interesting again. I just don't
Oh,
think
totally.
that the
Yeah.
people behind this franchise
Know how to. Yeah.
or feel they're not ambitious enough to do it. They want to make it the most Transformers-y, Michael Bay, Fast and Furious-esque franchise.
Consumer friendly.
It's funny, yeah. The new Mummy is basically if Michael Bay took the Brendan Fraser mummies and redid them. Yeah.
Who directed the first one? Was it like just some random?
No, the same guy who did Van Helsing. It was Steven Summers, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He has a very particular tone and feel as a director, for sure.
Well, all I know that he's done is The Mummy. He did The Rise of Cobra, G.I. Joe, which is terrible. He also did Mummy Returns.
You know Brendan Fraser had a cameo in the first G.I. Joe?
Did he really?
Hmm.
That's what?
When they were, like, sparring.
You know what? I do remember that.
He was there for, like, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, I was like, it's the guy from The Mummy! So, that was great.
Those movies. The second one was worse.
Yeah.
Again, it's Dwayne the Rock.
Well, the thing about The
in.
Rock is whenever you have an action movie franchise that's doing poorly at a certain point,
They just throw in the
they
Rock.
just throw in The Rock, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well-
every action franchise.
Yeah. Funny enough, that's where Fast and Furious started to pick up when they brought in The Rock.
I know, and I don't not like him, even though it always sounds like I
It's just
hate
he's in
him. It's
everything.
just go away.
Yeah.
And
There's
like,
just
you
an
mentioned-
oversaturation.
Yeah,
of it,
and
is
you
what it
mentioned
is.
Jumanji. I'm actually happy that they're not just remaking the Robin Williams one.
I feel like this is worse. I feel like they're
No, it is.
tarnishing
Yeah,
the-
I feel like it was out of respect that they're not touching.
There's
the original.
nothing respectful about this movie.
No, that they're
existing.
not touching the original in any way. So like, it's gonna be shit, but it won't affect the other one.
I guess.
No, I think it will, even though I see what you're saying. I just feel like it will purely because it has the name Jumanji. Just by,
I
like,
guess, but the first one's
Yeah.
always gonna be so much better.
but just by being in, like, what is it? Just by having the name Jumanji, I feel like
it
the
has
newer
nothing to do with
generation,
Jumanji.
even though it doesn't, I feel like the new, like, generation of moviegoers, like, especially kids, are going to always think of Jumanji as the Dwayne Johnson one instead
I
of
hope
the...
not. They turned
Well,
it
see-
into a video game.
I think you're wrong, or I hope you're wrong, because when people think of Psycho, they don't think of the remake with Vince Vaughn. When
That's
people
true.
think,
Yeah, but I didn't even know that existed until right
Because
now.
it was so bad.
You did- yeah, but see, there you go. You only knew of the original one with
But that's different, though, because Psycho is...
not really, because it's a remake.
No, but Jumanji is not at the level that Psycho is when it comes to movie classics. That's like a pioneering
But
classic.
Jumanji is it's still more relevant than Psycho because it's a movie with Robin Williams, who's someone who even now people still love.
Not quite. In the
I
sense of
disagree.
movie history, Psycho is
Well,
far more relevant.
I mean, in terms of influence, yeah, but I'm talking about like people know what Jumanji is. To like when we saw the trailer for it in front of Spider-Man, you saw people react when someone said Jumanji. People gasped like, "Oh shit, this is Jumanji." People don't like they don't shrug and be like, "What the fuck is Jumanji?"
I just don't see Jumanji lasting that many
Well,
years
this
in the
movie.
future, especially with this movie tarnishing it. But we'll see. Maybe it could make it more popular. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Fuck this.
I don't know. I'm giving them props, even though they probably don't deserve it, for not just remaking the same.
No, I
The same
agree. It
thing.
would have been far worse
It would
if
have been
they
way
had
more
remade
offensive.
it. Yeah. I see what they were going for was just
They
essentially...
tried to make it more
modern.
It's a video game
Yeah.
instead of a board game.
My problem with it is I find that Dwayne Johnson movies have a very specific sense of humor at this point.
It's like a Michael Bay humor.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it might have worked with, say, Pain and Gain, for instance.
Yeah.
Because that movie like serviced the plot really well, whereas for the Jumanji movie, it just feels like a cheap way to grab everybody's money.
Yeah, I mean, I have a soft spot for Jack Black because of Tenacious D, but I cannot stand Kevin Hart, and I
Yeah.
like Karen Gillan a lot. But
No,
I don't
yeah.
know why she did this movie.
I'm not like
I'm not gonna see it.
I just
Yeah.
feel like it's not really a Jumanji movie. Like if you
No,
change
it's
the
not.
name,
That's why
it's
I'm giving them-
Jumanji in name alone.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm giving them props for setting it
but they're
apart
purely
in a bad way.
right. But what bothers me is if you were to change the name,
They should have. They only have it as Jumanji.
No, but Jumanji
so
gives them
people-
attention,
So
yeah.
people see
Yeah.
it.
See, that's what I mean. Like people know what Jumanji is because of this. They're only calling it Jumanji so people will go see it because Jumanji. Like they
Yeah,
recognize.
but you're-
the brand
yes.
I wonder
yes,
how
but
many
your
people-
comparison is Psycho.
Well,
Is not a good
How many
comparison.
people
Well,
saw
I
the-
disagree because you see, people remember the old Psycho. Most people don't know the Vince Vaughn remake exists. Just like in
Yeah, but you were comparing it to the original Psycho.
no, that's not what I was saying. I was saying
And in relevance level, the original
no,
Psycho
that's
is
not what I
always
was
going to
saying.
win.
I was saying that no one knows that the Vince Vaughn remake exists. As in, down the line, they're not going to remember that this sequel to Jumanji exists versus the original Jumanji.
It's just because
I don't
Psycho,
know.
you can't redo Psycho.
Like,
You know what I mean?
down the line, people are going to forget the Ghostbusters remake from last year exists. They're only going to remember the one with Bill Murray and the one
Eventually,
directed by
but
Ivan
that
Reitman.
mark is going to be left for a while.
Well, when people like remember that shitty remake, but no one's gonna remember it fondly. No one's gonna say Ghostbusters, and you're gonna think, "Ooh, Melissa McCarthy screaming about wontons."
I don't
in
know.
her
The
suit."
thing about Jumanji is I find that it's only popular with people who are like kids within the late 90s and early 2000s.
It's the Robin Williams generation.
It's the Robin Williams generation, so I feel like over time
which
it is
we're
going to fade.
also a part of. So
Right,
maybe
so I
that's
do
why.
see it fading at some point.
Right,
sadly.
but not everyone has seen Psycho, but they know that Psycho is a thing. But they know that there was an old movie called Psycho, and they'll know that first. That versus
Well,
the
I
Vince Vaughn
feel like
remake.
in Psycho's case, even though it is like a film classic,
It's only because it's Hitchcock.
Right, but the thing is, though, is the
But
relevance of
most people
Psycho
don't
is
even
different.
know what Hitchcock is. Most people just know it because of the shower scene. A lot of people
Wait,
these days don't know.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's all they know what Psycho is.
But there's also the fact
that's
that
the only thing
People
that
don't know who Alfred Hitchcock is.
yes, but Universal
Yeah.
keeps reminding you of Psycho in a way where had you not been to the tour,
Well,
for
because it
instance,
That's true. It's
a
well,
lot of people wouldn't know about it.
that's like true, but I feel like people know it because it gets parodied so many times.
I guess.
Like that's what they know Psycho for, and they know
Sure.
that there's this old movie.
But a
where
lot
that
of times when
happens.
things are parodied, it gets to a point where you don't even associate it with the original; you associate it with the parody.
Well, sure, but at the same time, I don't know how much that has to do with
I'm
the
just
argument.
saying, I feel like Jumanji's only popular, like, even though it's a great movie and Robin Williams is great in it, is simply with this Robin Williams generation. Because I feel like at a certain point that will fade. Like, I just feel like even though
See,
he's
I
great,
disagree. If it was if it was like someone like Pauly Shore, sure, but Robin
Ew.
Williams is one of the
That
most.
comparison is disgusting.
Well,
But I
that's
feel
what I
like
mean.
it's
Like
not a
Robin Williams,
fair comparison.
I
though.
think it is because it's Robin Williams. It's one of the most recognizable, revered comic geniuses of all time. Like his movies will be passed down, whereas people like
I think some
But
of
I
them will.
wonder-
I just don't know if Jumanji is
I
one of
wonder
the
if
ones.
you-
You know?
like more than others. I think Flubber's not going to be passed down.
I
Yeah,
think
but,
Dead
like,
Poet Society is going to be one that's
I wonder if
remembered.
you
yeah,
go
but I'm
forever.
talking about like
But Jumanji,
I
I
wonder
don't
if
know.
Jumanji.
I wonder if you go into a middle school right now and you're like, have you seen Jumanji? And they'll be like, oh, Kevin Hart's in that.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
feel
what I
like
think
that's
is what
going to
happened.
be what's going to happen.
You see,
yeah.
I would think.
I hope not. I don't want that to be
I would-
the
Agreed.
case.
I would agree with you, but there are so many kids these days that are just so fucking like dumb.
But that's my
Some
point.
like
But that's
when
the
we were in,
generation
when we were
that's
in
yeah,
high,
that's
when,
my point, though.
when
The
we were in
Robin
high school,
Williams
I would talk to
generation is
people
different.
about movies
Right.
coming out. They wouldn't even know what Godzilla or King Kong
I know,
was.
but you're
What,
fighting against your own point, though.
what do you mean?
Like, you're talking about how you're right that Robin Williams himself will always be remembered. I don't really want to argue there because I don't think he'll be forgotten.
Sure.
But what you're saying is oh, everyone's always going to know Jumanji,
Right.
the Robin Williams one. Yet you're talking about how like the new current generation moving forward, they're so stupid that they wouldn't know the movie.
You see, that's not what I was saying. That's not my point. My point is that between the original Jumanji and this new shitty one, which one is going to stand the test of time? Whether people remember it universally or not, it's going to be the old Robin
It depends
Williams one.
which age group. If you're talking about us and above, it's the
You see,
first one.
you say that,
If you're
but
talking about kids, I don't think most of them have even seen the first one.
you say that, and I think you're right that not everyone in the world has seen it. But what's going to stand the test of time? Who you're going to ask down the road?
Oh no, that you're right.
That's what
I
I'm not saying that like
I just think the amount of people.
you can ask the right person and they'll say, "I remember the Dwayne Rock Schrock
I just
movie."
think
Well, then
that
clearly we're having a different argument because I feel like Ben and I are
I
saying
agree.
the same
I'm
thing.
split because
Yeah.
it's like the first Mummy movie. That movie will always be remembered
Right, and
instead of the new
that
one.
will stand the test of time.
Well, you know
versus
it's
this
not
new
the
Mummy
original
movie.
Mummy
But
movie,
kids
it's a
that are
remake.
but kids that are like my siblings' age and younger.
Yeah, but those are kids.
exactly.
I'm
But,
talking about,
those
like,
kids are gonna grow up
In
and be
terms
like,
of what's
Remember the Kevin Hart
yeah,
Jumanji movie?
but those are just kids. What movies are going to be archived and like celebrated down the line by either
this
experts?
movie, this remake isn't made to be.
Yeah,
archived
and Jumanji
celebrated.
will be remembered more so.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying as like a
Yeah, that's my point.
like
I'm
a
saying like
general consumer like
Right.
movie
yeah,
or-
but that's just and you're right. But I'm saying that's the now. That's
No,
not
I'm siding
the-
with Ben on this one. I think you're basically saying what I'm
saying
trying
in
to say.
10 years, like people when it's
They won't remember this new
It'll be
Jumanji.
the first Jumanji.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they won't remember this new Mummy. They won't remember
But I'm saying
Ghostbusters.
that's people that are our age and older.
It's
not,
I don't think so.
not middle
Because you see, they play all these old movies. These old movies are more celebrated, more talked about, more than the shitty remakes.
I don't know.
Those-
I haven't heard Jumanji talked about in particular that much, but being as the remake is coming out, they might play it on TV.
Well, the only
Maybe
reason
that'll
you're
make a
hearing about
difference.
it now is in the context of this new one.
Yeah, but after seeing it as a little kid, which my
I think I've only seen it
aunt showed
once.
me because they were kids when it came out,
Yeah.
I really haven't heard anything about
You
it.
see, maybe it's just you guys, but when I was growing up, Jumanji was like one of the big movies me and my friends would always watch. Like, me and my brother would watch that very often. Same with my cousins and a lot of my friends in elementary
But you guys
school.
are all into movies.
Yeah, but so are you.
Yeah, but the difference though is not all my friends were into movies when I was a kid.
Right.
So, and we're talking about the general like public here.
Yeah.
If you
and
and
I'm
your
saying
friends are
with,
into
like-
movies and you know
but
more
that's
about
also- that
movies
plays
than
into
most
what-
people.
So,
But that plays into what Zach was saying.
so that's what
We're-
I'm saying.
we're
It's
Robin
your
Williams
situation
generation.
versus mine, right? So, like,
Yeah,
one
but you're
situ-
speaking for like a general group.
Yeah, but so are you.
True, but at the same time, like based on what I've seen with the general group, they like aren't familiar with it.
But-
whereas when you're in a movie, like
But you're
consumer
basing it
group-
off of a specific section of a general group.
Well, it's like my parents had like seen his stand up, and like I grew up with his movies, but my
Right.
siblings haven't.
Right.
So like I feel like if I said Jumanji, they'll probably be like, oh yeah, that was a movie, and then or they'll be like, oh yeah, Kevin Hart and Jack Black are in that. It's like
yeah, I feel like that's
it's
very
too-
likely
I-
to happen.
it's-
Yeah.
But if you
The
ask
line
them,
is
and
too
this is my
skewed.
point, 5-10 years from now, if you say, do you remember Jumanji?
Maybe in like a
They
movie
probably
history
won't.
way, which is what you're saying.
That's
yeah,
what I'm
sure.
talking about. Like,
I don't
what's
know.
going to last?
But at the same
extent-
time, I think you're onto something there
I
too.
think people that will say the first Jumanji would only be people that have actually seen it.
Right, but again, if you go up to people and say, have you heard of the movie Psycho? A lot of those people will say, I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it. And I think
But
a
I
lot
don't
of
think
people
I
have
don't
heard.
think Jumanji
But
is
here-
It's
parodied
not
parodied in the same-
obviously, but that's
no,
not my
I don't
point.
think it's parodied or like.
But I know,
in the
I
same
agree with
way.
you, but that's not my point. My point is that
Psycho's
there are a lot
always
of
popping
movies that stand the test of time. And they will continue to stand the test of time, even more so than their shitty remakes. And it doesn't matter if
No,
you've
yeah, I'm
seen
not
it,
saying-
it doesn't
I'm
matter
not
if
saying
I don't
you're
even think
wrong.
it's a test of time thing at this point. We're just talking about like the general movie consumers.
you're,
and, like,
I think you're
the
saying what was
generation.
that when we were in Arizona and we were at that store that had like the film collection movies that was part of like
it had all the horror movies.
that prestigious collection of movies.
Oh, the Criterion.
Yeah, like I feel like Jumanji will be remembered as a Criterion type of
Well,
movie.
I don't know if it'll be, but
No,
I see what you're saying.
not
Like
added
it's
to the-
sentiment.
Yeah,
not
I'd
really-
agree
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. Yeah, I'd agree.
But it probably won't be remembered by like the casual moviegoer, which is most. of
Which is
the
what I'm
country.
trying to say. Yeah.
So like it will be remembered for sure, but not by everybody. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'd agree.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
See, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I think
Like
that,
I'll remember it for sure.
right, and so will I. But I'm saying even for the casual moviegoer,
I hope.
they're like the casual moviegoer has a short attention span. I think that's something to remember because they'll tell you now, and maybe even to the next year or two, like, oh, I remember the Dwayne the Rock Kevin Hart Jumanji movie.
Well,
But their attention spans are short, and they always focus on the now. But I'm talking
the old movies are made to last. These new ones are just
exactly
cash grabs.
like movies that come out now are made for people that have.
Yeah,
short-
but that's not what we're saying, though. You got to
Yeah,
remember.
no,
all we're
I
pointing out is like there is a Robin Williams
saying this
generation.
new one
Your
isn't-
Criterion comparison
Yeah,
is perfect.
this
You
new
see,
one.
I don't think so because the
this-
Criterion exists for literal. Like, I get what he's saying.
It's
but
not Citizen Kane though. You're comparing it to Psycho, where it like.
I'm not.
started a
No,
whole
not
genre.
literally. Not in substance. I'm talking about in sentiment.
And people know Jumanji. A lot of the times when I've heard people reference Jumanji, like, yeah, I've heard of Jumanji, but they don't even know Robin Williams.
but
is
see,
involved with
they
it.
still heard of it. So that's my point. They've heard.
Yeah,
of
but
it.
you're referring to it in correlation with Robin
But
Williams.
they're just-
No, I wasn't.
they're
I
two-
was just saying they've heard of it.
They're
It doesn't
two
matter
different-
if they
they're
knew
two
that.
different movies.
But
Though. Like this one
Zach,
isn't made
this
to be remembered.
is what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they know that Kirsten Dunst is in it. They don't need to know that there's a part in the movie where
I
the
didn't even
kids.
know she was in
They
it.
didn't. She's the young girl.
I forgot
They,
about
they
that.
don't need to know that the young kid even turns into a monkey in the movie. They don't have to explain the whole plot. But you prove my point. They know that the movie exists. They won't know that this
it's
movie exists.
objectively better than the remake,
And
which
it-
is just made to
Even
cash
if it was a
paycheck.
shitty movie, even if it wasn't that great, and Jumanji isn't the best movie in the world, it isn't Psycho, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that certain movies, regardless of who's in them, they stand the test of time.
Not everybody I've spoken
Well,
to is
yeah.
familiar with Jumanji, and a lot of the current
But again-
generation, especially my younger brother and like his friends and younger, have never even heard of Jumanji.
But
with the
again,
exception of
remember,
the remake.
this is a very specific section of a
Then we're
larger
both
group.
wrong, though.
No, but we're both right.
It's
'Cause you're
neither
talking-
of you are wrong. But
Neither
it's
of
hard to.
you see what you're saying. You're
That's why
arguing
I'm
for
split.
the younger part of this new generation. I'm talking about beyond that. I'm talking about the grand scheme of things. I'm not talking about this specific generation.
Maybe.
I think it's an absolutely. Like, I don't think many things are absolute. I think some things will be passed down from generation to generation. Like the Beatles. The Beatles is not many people have really listened to most of the catalog of the Beatles, but everyone's heard of the Beatles. You know, they know these things exist.
I think your argument is better suited as like instead of just Jumanji. If you,
Like, I'm not saying
No, I'm saying if you said Robin Williams, not many people have seen all.
Yeah,
his
I'd agree-
movies,
I'd agree
but
with that,
Everyone
yeah.
knows who Robin Williams.
Right.
Yeah, sure, I could agree with that.
Right,
But I
and-
think Jumanji's a very particular, like...
Jumanji's
that's
just
because-
one.
that's just 'cause the
Jumanji
remake
is
is
one
coming out.
part
Yeah,
of
right.
his career,
Yeah.
but it's still one of the big parts of
Like,
his career.
my
It's
first-
one of the big.
No, I know, but I feel like if the Jumanji remake didn't come out, like, it would really
Well,
disappear.
like
you
Dead
know?
Poet Society.
I don't.
was
I don't know because I feel like there are other movies that he's been in
Like,
that have
people
come out
might-
afterwards and have disappeared faster.
Yeah, people might know them in the sense where, like, a few kids, like, got shown the movie, but, like, even in,
Well,
like,
like-
school and kids my own age,
I was
a
gonna
lot
say
of them don't know
Dead Poet
Jumanji.
Society was my first
You know?
Robin Williams movie, and I saw that in school.
Right. But like
Right.
again, there are other
So
movies.
out of school, you would have never heard about it, really.
I don't
Until
know.
maybe later
I don't
on
know.
or something, yeah.
But again, there are movies that have come out with Robin Williams after Jumanji that have like how many like there'd be so many
Like
people
Flubber.
like RV. Remember RV?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
I did not like RV.
It was a shitty ass movie. But again, like that's a movie Robin
But
Williams
it's
or not
right, it's
won't
so,
be passed down.
Yeah,
You know,
they made
generation
a
to generation.
sequel to that. I think.
They did.
Yeah, I'm
With
almost
who?
positive. This is probably so wrong, but I want to say it was Ice Cube. But it might also be Robin Williams the second time.
I don't know if this is as bad, but it kind of reminds me of the Tooth Fairy 1 with The Rock, and then the Tooth Fairy 2 with Larry the Cable Guy.
That's disgusting. I don't want to talk about them.
I have
You
to
know,
imagine there's a
this
Tooth
kind of
Fairy 3.
reminds me of the Brendan Fraser mummies, where even though it's a remake of the old 1930s movie, nobody's like a lot of people think the Brendan Fraser ones are like the first mummy movies in that
Right.
sense.
I think he was in the second one too.
So I think like
But-
I don't know. Even though objectively, history-wise, the original Mummy movie of Boris Karloff is like
Right.
the one to be remembered.
That's going to
But I
be
haven't
the one
even
that's
seen
passed down a generation, and so will in.
I
not
think the
as-
Brendan Fraser first one is.
I
gonna
think
be
there
very
will
good.
be. I don't think the Mummy 3, but I think
The first
Mummy
two,
will
yeah,
be.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Turn that shit down, boy.
But
Was the RV2
what's scary
trailer.
is that a lot of people
Who's in
within
the
10
RV2?
years.
I think if it exists.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think you were thinking of Are We There Yet?
No,
With Ice
I
Cube?
typed in
No.
RV2.
No, he's referring to RV. That's it. I
Wait,
remember
is there
RV.
legitimately a sequel to RV with Ice Cube?
No, it's not Ice Cube. I think if it
So
exists,
who is it?
it's with Robin Williams. But I'm having trouble figuring out if it's actually real or if it's
No,
just
but the movie
fake.
Are We There Yet with Ice Cube. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
with
what you
Ice
were
Cube.
thinking of.
And there's a sequel to that,
Yeah, Are We Done Yet, I think.
which clearly they weren't.
Yeah, that movie had Dr. Cox in it from Scrubs. Why do I
Really?
remember that? I don't know.
You know, what was it? Fuck, what was I trying to say? I totally forgot. Well, moving on.
Okay, so I think this is fake because the trailer is an RV from I don't even know what game this is, violently flipping over and over.
I don't think
This
it has
looks like-
anything to do with
This looks like an
RV2
old
if there
Just
is
Cause
one.
game.
This looks like this is Just Cause 2.
Is it 2? I can't tell if it's 1 or 2.
Ugh.
And it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
All right, we have gone far. Okay,
Yeah.
that's awful. We've gone far away from the dark
I think
universe.
the point of
Maybe
this,
it doesn't exist.
I think the point of this conversation, regardless of whether it's related to the dark. Oh my god, my brain is breaking. That's
yeah,
Dark
right.
syphilis.
dark cunculus. Regardless of whether our points were related to the dark universe in context, I think
Well, no one's gonna remember this new Dark Universe,
think
but they're
that-
gonna
I
remember
think-
the original.
I think that's the moral of the story of this podcast. That Universal needs to step their game up, or these movies will fade into obscurity.
Sure, I'll concede
very
that
fast.
in regards to Dark Universe for sure.
Yeah. And go watch Jumanji. It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
I think the new Jumanji, sadly, isn't going to be well received by critics at all. Well, that's good, but I think it's going to be well received.
It's
by,
like the Nut
little
Job
kids.
2. Okay.
Oh, I mean, so is the
Yeah.
Emoji Movie, but
Was it really well received by little kids?
little kids are stupid, so yes.
No, I know they are, but even as a
No,
little
you
kid,
don't
there are
understand.
moments when I watch movies and was like, "This is just."
Remember,
bad.
Zach, dumb parents take dumb kids to dumb movies.
I work in a movie theater, and when Emoji Movie came out, it was sold out its first 2 days, and then nothing.
You
after
know how
that.
they say sometimes the truth hurts, and you want to deny that like painful truth.
Yeah.
I try
That's how
talking
I feel
every
right now.
family that comes in when I'm selling
The
tickets.
truth, here's the truth. The Emoji Movie is successful.
Unfortunately,
That actually hurts. I want to
tried,
deny it.
I tried so hard. Whenever I had to sell tickets, I would
That's
try to
awful.
talk the parents out of seeing the Emoji Movie.
You kidding? You want to know something?
You're a real hero.
The Nut Job 2 is selling well at my theater, and that really bothers me.
Dude, the truth fucking hurts. I wanted to deny that, but because they're a fact that, like, objectively this movie did well, that's
Yeah.
terrifying.
I really wanted
Wow.
it to fail so that Sony's movie.
All right, guys. Well,
They get shut
I'm
down.
gonna go cry in a corner now, so I think it's time we end this podcast.
I'm gonna go cry in the same corner. Who wants to be on top?
I can't tell if I have to take a poop or if it's just sadness.
What if your poop starts crying?
I mean, then it would be diarrhea.
Goodbye, folks!